Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another episode of You Tell Me, a Canadian Muslim podcast. Today we have with us Zahid Merchant. He is the former GM, commissioner, and plays a bunch of different roles with the Brotherhood Sports Leagues. Back in 2014, they started the Brotherhood Softball League, followed by the Brotherhood Soccer League. And in the last couple of years, they've expanded to golf as well as pickleball. They've given our community something amazing, very interesting stuff to look forward to and engage in. And we are really excited to have a good conversation with him. Welcome to the podcast, Zahid.
Thank you, Coram. Excited to be here.
Wonderful. Let's get started with, some easy softball questions, pun intended. So let's get started with BSL. Just give us a little bit of its origin story, what inspired you to create these leagues, or the league, the softball league, if you want to talk about that first, and how's that journey been?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I wouldn't say that I was kind of destined to do this. Although as a kid growing up, I was always part of the group of people that was always organizing sports amongst our friends. And so that's kind of how this all came about. It actually happened at one of our friends' weddings where I met a bunch of old friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I heard that they were playing softball in other leagues. I was playing in my IBM work league at that time, and I'm like, it'd be so great if we could play together, just to see each other more often and whatnot. And there's a bunch of my childhood friends that were there, and we were just like talking about that. Yeah, it'd be great to see each other more often and just play together and whatnot. And that's kind of how we started. And this was like in the winter of 2023, and then we're just like, let's figure out something we can do. And so as kind of that we transitioned to the summer, we're like, okay, let's figure something out. I was away for the summer a bit. I remember this. I was in Los Angeles visiting in-laws, and so I'm like,
Right.
as soon as I'm back, let's do
You,
something.
you said 2023. I'm guessing you meant 2013
Sorry, yes,
or 14,
2013.
right?
Yeah,
I'm like, what just happened?
2013. Yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah, it was 2013. And so I think it was end of July where we ran our first kind of pickup games, right? We invited a whole bunch of people. I sent it out to my entire mailing list. I'm like, guys, just show up. You may not have played baseball, you may not have played softball, you may play cricket, you may play other things. Just come give it a try, right? And so we started off with this field called Hunter's Green, which is kind of in the Meadowville area.
Yeah, Hunter's Green,
Yeah,
Darien Glen Erin,
yes, exactly.
right? Yeah, my boy used to have practices there for his
Yeah, so we kind of
little
started
league.
off there. I got the bases donated by Baseline Sports, Rafiq Chaudhry, who runs that place. And so we just kind of started off. We just gave it a try. A bunch of people showed up in the first couple of weeks. They enjoyed it. They started coming back. We started getting more regulars. Guys played through the rain, and nobody complained and whatnot. So as that kind of summer went on, like we saw more and more interest of brothers getting together. And I was enjoying it because I got to see some of my childhood friends that I hadn't seen in such a long time. Everybody's kind of enjoying themselves. And then as that summer ended up, we kind of did a poll of those guys. Would you be interested in joining a league if we started a league next year? And we got good feedback, and that's kind of how it all started. And then 2024, we kind of started that league as the first season. A lot of guys had never played before, still learning the rules and whatnot. And then it just kind of grew from there. The love of the game grew, the love of the community grew, and we just wanted to make something that was different because you could play in any league that you want. But
Mhm.
what's different about this league that we run, or this organization that we run, is it's about the community and it's about giving back, right? Many of us have known each other now for 11 plus years. And the most important thing is every aspect of our league is tied to charity or to giving back to the community. And
Right.
so, as the Prophet ﷺ says, everything we do is for the sake of Allah, and that's what the reason we should do all of these activities. So we just made sure that, hey, every aspect of this league, we're going to have some element where we're giving back to the community, and we're doing it for the sake of Allah, right? It's a Muslim-based league, so all the brothers in our league kind of make that intention at the beginning of the year, and we do different things throughout the year, whether that be doing a Ramadan campaign where we raise money, we sell food throughout the year, we do like tournaments, we do like other activities just to kind of raise more money and raise more awareness. This year we were raising money for refugees from Gaza that were coming to Canada. They were coming with nothing. They were leaving everything behind. So alhamdulillah, throughout the year we raised $66,000 from our league to help those families that were
Mashallah.
leaving their home behind and coming to a new community and being part of this community of ours in somewhere in Canada, many of them being in the GTA, just helping them get a start to a new life.
Mashallah, that's amazing, man. No, and you were talking about all the tournaments and all the different kind of events you guys do. I was so amazed as I was researching BSL ahead of our conversation here. I found that you guys have a podcast,
Yeah, we do.
and I think a random episode I was listening to it. I think it was just from the most recent season that finished, and I think the playoffs were started. You guys were talking about preparing for a game between, if I remember correct, the Mamluks and the Seljuks,
Yeah.
and your host Rehan, he's talking about run differentials and head-to-head matchups and stats. I'm like, these guys actually record this information. I've played in city leagues. I played for Average Joe's. I played for the Mississauga Slow Pitch League. They never do any of that stuff. Like, where is
Yeah.
that coming from, and what inspired the whole podcast idea?
Well, yeah, when we first started the league, right, and the board of directors that we were in charge, we had some volunteers helping out, and we're like, listen, all of us as kids had aspirations to be some type of professional athlete, right? We all grew up saying, "Oh, I want to be that guy. I want to be that." And then none of us, man, we have Asian genes, right? Uh, God bless our ancestors, but they didn't really have the most athletic genes. So we're like, yeah, the chance of that happening is probably very slim. You can see how many um, Pakistani or Indian athletes play in all the four major sports in Canada or the US.
And no,
Very
not that
slim,
many.
right? Very
I
slim,
think
very
there's a
slim
change coming. I think there's more effort being put into
for
it.
sure.
I don't think it is all that much within the Pakistani Muslim community. I think that's an area we still need to do more work. I know from the Indian side of things, there's a lot more work being put into it, and people are
Since
showing
none of
up.
us made it, since none of us made it, we tried to turn this into our own version of
Exactly.
a professional league, right? Where we record stats, we record highlights, players of the week. We record this year. We started recording exit velocity. We recorded every single at bat. We would post the players that had the highest exit velocity, and we're just trying to be kids again, right? We're doing things that we grew up dreaming of being able to do, and now that we have the uh, the abilities to do it, we have the resources to do it. We've got people that are social media experts. We've got people that are video experts, right? They do that part of their trade or they do that as a hobby. So now we're just taking advantage of the people that have those skills to kind of be able to do the things that we as children dreamt of doing.
No, that's really impressive, man. Is everything being done on a volunteer basis, or do you guys have any
Everything's
employees on
no,
staff as
everything's
well?
on a volunteer basis right now. Obviously, some people that we hire, we pay for their services, like photographers and stuff like that. We pay for their services, but all the people that kind of work for Brotherhood Sports Leagues or work for us, they're all on a volunteer basis. None of the volunteers or directors are paid for anything.
Alhamdulillah, that's really impressive, man. Because what you're telling me right now, that's quite a bit of work.
Yeah, it's all because of the passion for the league and for the game. That's where it all comes from.
Wonderful. And I'm assuming the feedback from the players specifically has been, uh, mostly positive. Anything of interest that comes to mind
No, there's
specifically?
always room for improvement, and that's the thing about uh, uh, our community is we tend to focus on, hey, how can we make it better, as opposed to look at all the stuff that we're already doing,
Hmm.
right? So we're spread pretty thin in terms of the extracurricular stuff we do for our league, um, but then there's obviously room for to do more or maybe slightly improve things, but we always have to keep in mind that we have players that have full-time jobs and they do other things for a living and they have families, so there's only so much that we can commit to doing to keep this league entertaining, and I think we do enough already, as you said, more than any other league does. So we always have to keep a cap on the amount of hours that we're asking people to commit to this.
Alhamdulillah, that's pretty amazing, man. So as I was asking that question, I'm like, obviously the feedback from the players would be pretty good. My real question is, what is the feedback from their wives?
Well, it depends, right? If you have players, and we do have some of them whose wives play in sisterhood softball as well,
Right.
They
I
would
was going to
be
ask you about that,
probably
but
a
okay.
little bit more understanding of the commitment that the brothers make to the league, because their women are making the same commitment on that side. And now this year, our league that runs on Sundays is at the same time as SSL that plays on Sunday mornings as well. So there's been a little bit of I would say contention in the household on who has to watch the kids and how who drops the kids where. But alhamdulillah, they're generally supportive. I tell this to my wife even before they started sisterhood softball. Is this is my escape for the summer, right? I only ask.
Hmm.
We only get what 5 months of the year of good weather in Toronto where I can actually play sports outdoors, and this is my 5 months. I'm cashing it in now, and the rest of the winter you have me. So um, that's kind of the way I view it, and I love playing slow pitch softball. Ever since I started playing it. I played baseball as a kid, so I had some kind of background in it. But as I kind of grew older and I played slow pitch softball for the first time, I just fell in love with it, right? So I play twice a week and sometimes practice once a week. So this is my escape for the summer. There's other players that maybe do a little bit more, maybe do a little bit less, but I think generally we just love being outdoors, right? In the summer to take advantage of the good weather and being with the brothers, being able to kind of compete and at the same time just being able to enjoy the social aspect of softball, because you're not like basketball or soccer where you're constantly active in the game. There's downtime in the game where you can enjoy the social aspect of it and being a spectator while you're still involved in the game.
That's pretty amazing, man. Have you noticed any specific difference in the dynamics of how the teams interact with each other and how the games are played between the Brotherhood League and the Sisterhood League? I'm assuming, at least in the beginning, you were involved in helping them get set up. You might still be.
Yeah, so I was initially part of the group that started Sisterhood Softball to get them started. Obviously after the initial phase I kind of stepped back and kind of let the women run it as they felt they needed to, because they had a better pulse on kind of what the women aspect of the requirements would be. But I would say it's very similar. There's a very community aspect to both of our leagues. Um, they have a little bit more emphasis on the Islamics aspect of it, where they do like regular team halakas and whatnot. They definitely are far more social than we are. Like I can't tell you, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but the number of social team gatherings that they've got or group gatherings or whatnot, we don't do any of that. Like our only social aspect of it, you show up to play the game, you enjoy yourselves at the game, maybe you go out for lunch or dinner after the game, and then that's it. But the women tend to meet up on off days far more often than the men do.
So, that's been a conversation that I've been having with a lot of people is for some reason, and not necessarily to say, oh, what, they can do it better than us. I'm just focused on why is it so hard for us to have those conversations and just kind of hang out and talk and share, some vulnerabilities. But you know what? We'll come to that.
I think
Let's
it's
pick,
just the nature of both men and women, right? Like I'm an
yeah,
organizer. I have been since
yeah,
I was a kid, right? I even the get-togethers that I have with my group of friends or travel or whatnot, I find myself being the one that kind of initiates some of that. And the
right,
problem is most of our men aren't initiators, right? They're not the ones who reach out to people and say, "Yeah, I haven't seen you in so long. Like, when are we meeting? When are we meeting up?" Right?
right,
It's
and
women that keep in touch with each other and be like, "Oh, I haven't seen you so long. I'm coming over tomorrow." Well,
right,
how
and
many of
when
us
they
men
meet,
actually do that? Like, you either
exactly,
show
and
up for
when they
cricket
meet, they
today or
actually
you
talk.
didn't. If you didn't show up for cricket today, I won't see you. That's basically how it works.
Exactly. And for some reason, when they meet, they can actually talk. When we meet, it's just, hey, how the Raptors doing? Did you check out that game last night? What car are you driving? And we don't really talk. Like you and I, we've known each other many years now, and I really don't know anything about your personal life.
Yeah, and that's something that has to change, right? And that's
I think so
part of
too.
what we've tried to do with this league is we want to build a community of brothers that support each other, right?
Hmm.
Whether that be when somebody's in need or just generally being out have somebody that is an expert in a field that you could reach out to, right? We did something a couple of years ago where we asked every player in our league to give us their profession. What do you do for a living? What is your skill set? Because if there is somebody that needs something from somebody that is a professional in that field, it's easier for them to reach out to me or to you to get that information to say, listen, I'm looking to buy a car. You're a car salesperson. Can you give me advice on what I should be looking for? Is now's a good time? Should I wait? Blah blah blah. Like, and it could be like I'm in IT, right? I'm an IT professional. If somebody's looking to buy software or whatnot, or you're looking to start an IT company or whatever, I could probably give you some advice. I mean, I'll be able to do it for you, but I'll probably give you some advice based on
Yeah.
my experience in this field and the people that I know. I can connect you with somebody that may be able to help you, right? And just being able to leverage each other's skill set and capabilities, because whatever career you're in, or even the life you live, you could live in another part of the GTA or whatever. You could have a completely different exposure to people, or to a different lifestyle, right? And so if somebody needs some help, you at least it's easier to go to a brother that you've played sports with, that you know somewhat formally, to be able to get that type of information. So we need to do that better as a community, right? Is leveraging each other. I know there's many other communities out there that do this far better than we do, and they've gotten ahead, um,
Hmm.
than we have, because we don't rely on each other for assistance, right? And generally, we don't know enough about each other to be able to do that as well.
Exactly. And I genuinely think this is a real challenge for us, for but obviously because you and our parents, we end up, by default end up thinking, okay, how is this going to impact my kids? I have a teenage boy. However, not just for the kids, even for the grown men, the one that you and I interact with, the one that play in our leagues, it's a genuine challenge. Masculinity, just as a concept, it has definitely evolved over time, continues to evolve. What it means to be a man today is definitely very different from what it meant a generation ago. Um, I feel like these changes, while necessary and positive in many ways, they have created confusion and challenges
And you
for
look at the
many
way life
men in
is
our
now,
community.
right? Whether it be
Exactly.
a career, whether it be an investment, or like whatever aspect of your life is, it's you generally get ahead further in life if you have the network connections to do so, right? I see it in my career, right? Generally, the people that get the promotions, that move up, they know the other people that are in that kind of management layer already. They know those people, they have those relationships. They're generally who are going to get ahead, right? And that's no different in any other aspect of our lives, right? If you want to get a, a good deal on a new car or whatever, if you know somebody that works at that dealership, you're probably going to get something that's better than some average Joe that walks in out of nowhere, right? It's
Right.
just
Well,
how
there's
being able to have
that.
those connections.
There's that, the helping with finding a job, there's helping with finding a new car, but then sometimes we feel like there's this weird thing that men have about being very stoic and very lone wolf kind of going it, go, uh, dealing with our problems. However, we know that there's actual genuine issues of depression and anxiety, and having to deal with the challenges of life. There are a lot of pressures, and for some reason, even when we start having those conversations, we end up talking about, like what you and I are doing right now, talking about jobs and cars. But at some point in time, we need to be able to give each other the flexibility and the platform to show a little bit of vulnerability and show a little bit of um, asking for help and reaching out and being able to share some personal stuff that might make me feel not as cool. And then on top of that, you add, external factors, the the Donald Trumps and the Andrew Tates and the Joe Rogans, who are they're ranging from, toxic hypermasculinity to more nuanced perspectives. But these issues in social media is really amplified, their messages,
Yeah, for sure.
and making it even harder to navigate.
Yeah. Right, and the only way we can get that support is if you have that network of people that can support you, right? And so that's something that we've tried to do with this league, to try to create that network, so people have others to rely on. We
Hmm.
generally communicate when somebody's going through some difficulty, going through some major surgery, blah 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 blah, right? So that everybody's kind of connected with that person. Does a
Exactly.
to check in on them, provide them any support that they need, anything that their family may need, right? We just have to be there for each other, right? And that's how we kind of build that love and bond with each other, and then you have a network of people that you can rely on.
Of course. Do you think, uh, or rather not, rather than do you think, how do you think faith can play a central role in helping men specifically navigate these these evolving expectations? How do you think our community can better integrate those lessons into everyday life?
Obviously Islam teaches us, right, to your community is just as important as anything else, right? It just based on the hadith that we have about neighbors and whatnot. They have rights over you, we have rights over them, right? And so faith plays a big part of that. But I think this just our the culture has impacted um what we should and how we should rely on each other, right? It's just like
Hmm.
you said, right? We have kind of egos or whatnot that kind of get in the way. Like we don't talk, men don't talk about this stuff, women don't talk about this stuff, right? It's just, but we have to make ourselves vulnerable, right? To be able to get the help that we need, right? And so I think we need to kind of get back to a little bit of that. We shouldn't have kind of shame of reaching out for help, um, getting the support that we need, whether it be mental health or anything else. We shouldn't have that. I know in our kind of Pakistani community, it's kind of frowned upon to talk about that
It
stuff.
is.
You cannot be soft. Men cannot cry. But sometimes it's just the way you feel, right? And sometimes you need the help in order to get better. So um, we shouldn't kind of view the culture baggage that we've kind of created with that type of stuff. We have to get back
Yeah.
to
No, so
people that.
there's this buzzword that comes up all the time, toxic masculinity, right? We know it exists. In fact, in the space that you operate in a in a sports league where it's all competitive all the time, it's all, men that are engaged in it. Have you had to deal with or have you experienced any of those qualities creeping into the competitive environment within the league?
Well, it
Or
does happen
how
on
have
the
you dealt with
field,
that?
right? You and I are both competitive. We play with sports against each other. On the
Hmm.
field, yes, there's always that kind of competitiveness, right? That you have the masculinity. Like I'm the
Right.
I'm the big shot, right? Like I'm the superstar of the team, and right. Most guys are humble about it, but when you get onto the field, then you kind of everybody wants to prove their worth, right? Like I'm better than what you think I am, or where I was drafted because all of our players are drafted. Everybody's trying to prove where they were drafted to other teams, right? But off the field, I don't see that happen too much, right? Like there are
That's
some
good.
players that kind of carry that off the field, and they're just they just show that masculinity, but I don't see that too often in the players in our league. Everybody because they've known each other for so long, or they've either been teammates in the past. Like there's none of that happens generally off of the field.
Right.
Once the game is
So,
over, everybody kind of goes back to just their friendships and chit chatting and just enjoying the rest
yeah,
of the day.
let me reframe the question a little bit. Because obviously, in theory, I know who you are. I know what the intention and the philosophy behind the league is. I know how much you believe in this league and this environment. You know, organized sports, physical activity, how much of an opportunity that provides people to engage in and spend time together and build bonds together and come close to Allah together. I know that is built into your philosophy a lot. However, because of the competitive nature of that environment, I think there's also a genuine risk of it going, sideways. Have you or the leadership of the league ever needed to have the conversation to say, hey, we're seeing some of this stuff, or we want to try and get ahead of some of this stuff? Has that been a conversation in your meetings, and have you had to come up with any strategies to address that?
Yeah, early on there was that type of stuff. We would have to kind of put zero tolerance policies, right? We don't tolerate any kind of chirping or um, like people talking back to each other. Sometimes it ends up happening just in the heat of the moment. Like it happened this year between two players that were really good friends, and then just in the heat of the moment, they just started arguing with each other. But then 5 minutes later, they kind of moved on, and they kind of realized that yeah, they were kind of out of line. Whatever it ends up happening, right? But it can't go to a certain level, right?
Exactly.
It can't go beyond a point where it's like, hey, this is affecting everybody else, and it's affecting
Hmm.
the game and kind of the brother aspect of the league. You have a disagreement, whatever, you talk about it, you move on. But we generally don't typically have those type of things. Some other leagues that I've played in, yeah, it gets far more intense and far more aggressive than it needs to be. And I stopped playing, and that's part of the reason why I stopped playing ball hockey.
Right.
It's too is because it was just getting out of hand, right? Guys were kind of bringing whatever stress they had throughout the week, and they were trying to take it out on other people, which I get it. I use sports as a stress relief as well, but I don't take it out on other people. I use it
Exactly.
as a way of me to channel that stress into being able to compete and do the best that I can.
That is so unfortunate, though, right? Like, why are we putting ourselves in this situation? You mentioned a little bit about the stigmas around therapy, and it makes you look weak. Obviously, the you guys are doing a lot about it. I know there are other organizations that are working on it as well. However, I mean, as big as your league is, I think you mentioned you have somewhere closer to 250 or 300 people that have been involved in the league from beginning through the end. I don't know how many active players there are. So there's obviously been some impact, but it's not enough. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of people with negative understanding or incorrect understanding of what mental health means and what the value of therapy is. If we're going to make a significant change and make a significant impact in our community on our men to change those attitudes, who do you think will need to take ownership? Because obviously it can't be put on, PSL, one organization. That's not a fair expectation.
I don't
So
will
who is
qualify
responsible
to.
for taking that ownership or working towards that change?
I think it's everybody has to play their part. I don't think there's one organization out there. Like obviously Nasiha is out there to do that
Mhm.
to do that, right? There that's kind of the space that they play in. And they're experts at it. We've worked with them before, so it's just it's difficult to kind of pinpoint where what's going to be the organization that's going to kind of derive that big change, but everybody has to play their part. Um, and I see a lot of the different Muslim organizations that we have just in our kind of the GTA community, all kind of trying to do what they can to play their part. We try to do our part by providing this league um, to players to kind of escape from whatever troubles that they have in their life. Right, you're dealing with stress at home, you're dealing with stress at work, whatever. Right, this is kind of a mental therapy for us to kind of go out, be with each other, enjoy our company, play sports, what we have grown up loving to do, right? Just kind of escape from the challenges that you've got. We're providing that. We provide kind of the support structure as a network of other brothers that you can reach out to if you need help. We're doing that from our aspects, and SEA is doing it from what they can from their aspect. So other organizations doing stuff as well. I think it's going to be a combination of everybody kind of playing their part, especially with the younger generation, right? As their teenagers become adults and whatnot, they will need more support than what we've grown up with, right? We obviously, they have far more challenges than we did growing up. So they're probably going to need more assistance, and that's why kind of Nasiha and whatnot are instrumental in our community to be able to provide that to the teenagers as they're maturing and growing into adults.
No doubt, man. That actually gives me hope. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Looking ahead, do you think that there's a change happening for that next generation? How do you think they will embrace just the concepts of healthy living, mental health, active living, whatever you want to call it? Do you see a growing acceptance and a growing interest among young people? Young people?
I think so. There's obviously different pockets. Like obviously, I live in the Milton community, so I generally am exposed to what happens in the Milton community, and I'm optimistic that the Milton community, especially the younger generation, have more exposure to the dean, to programs, to leagues, to support structure than I did as a teenager or as a kid, for sure. Right, so they have the ability to kind of take advantage of those. Now it's on those kids to make the most of that opportunity, right? And we've said this throughout the years, right? Like our league is in our 11th year. I started this when I was in my mid 30s. I wish that this was around when I was in my early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can only tell you the relationships that I would have with some of the people that I would have known for this long, right? And I've only met these brothers as I was a father, as I had kids, and obviously um other things that were kind of consuming the time in my life. But these are in their 15, 16, going on 20 or whatever. They have all the time in the world outside of school, right? To be able to spend that with like-minded Muslim friends that kind of have the same beliefs as you, have the same kind of interests as you, right? Being able to have that network growing up, like obviously my son has been in my rec for so long, he's got all of these friends that he's kind of grew up with, right? And so he has that network as he matures to an adult and in early adulthood, right, where he has a network of friends that he can rely on. Um, as us, you grew up in a neighborhood. When you leave that neighborhood, you generally don't have access to those friends anymore, right? Because we
That's
didn't have
correct.
the social
But
media.
because of this, it just carries on with you. And those are some mechanisms. What saddens me, honestly, Zahid, is the fact that the dependency on mechanisms. So we live in, Ontario. I'm in Mississauga. You're in Milton. There are maybe not enough leagues like MyRec to help help our kids find those, but there's more than enough parks. Like my wife doesn't want to go for a walk with me around the neighborhood because as soon as I walk by a baseball diamond or a football field, I'm going to start ranting about why is it empty? Why is nobody here? So that initiative from the young people, for some reason, that culture changed, and they're not going out and playing.
Yeah, that it's sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, right? Like
Yeah,
I say the same thing to my son. I'm like, when I was your age, I would be organizing what to do as soon as I got home from school. I'd either be playing ball,
yeah,
hockey, or baseball, or something. Now, as soon as these kids come home, they go straight in their room and they turn on their Xbox or whatever. And that's kind of how they consume their time. Like, dude, enjoy the weather outside, go outdoors.
right.
As they get older, they kind of tend to realize it a little bit more. Like, oh, like when they've got that network of friends to do it. But yeah, none of them go out and actively do it. They need one person like you or I that would be the ones who would initiate it. So, oh, we're meeting at this park at this time, and that's when everybody else would show up. But
Right. And fact of the matter is, the parents that we're talking about, that we're saying, oh, these guys need to engage, there's not that many parents out there with the kind of commitment that you've put in for something like BSL or for MyRec, and put in that time to work on it. These are the years where the parents are working their butt off, and they have jobs and they have responsibilities, and it's difficult for them to actually put in that kind of time. And so there needs to be somebody, if not organizing, at least telling the kids and encouraging the kids, get out. Don't depend entirely on your parents. That's not always going to be a realistic expectation.
yeah, I think masjids and whatnot are trying to do that a little bit more, right? To engage
Hmm.
youth and kind of have activities for them after school. It's hard to pinpoint like who that ownership falls on. It falls on the kid,
Yeah.
falls on the kids,
And the
but
thing
a
is,
lot of kids are not of that. I would say
exactly, right? And the thing is
heritage. They're
that, um,
relying on somebody else to do it for them.
yeah, and those leaders that we're talking about, we still are in a generation. We're still, a lot of us are still either immigrants or first generation Canadians. So a lot of stigmas and a lot of attitudes we've um, imported from back home, where engaging in recreational sports as an adult sometimes is seen as frivolous or unproductive. Physical activity is often associated with professional athletes or younger individuals rather than being viewed um, as essential for all ages. So where they might play a little bit of cricket or informal soccer, but structured routine fitness activities, going to the gym, working out, or running regularly, they're not widely adopted. Do you have any input? Do you have any thoughts on why uh, there's this lack of emphasis on physical health and active lifestyle within our world, the South Asian, Indian, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Middle Eastern, Arab countries? Where is that coming from? What's the psychology behind it?
Um, I don't know. I was raised differently. My my dad and my parents would always encourage us to be involved in sports,
Right.
some type of
That's
physical
good,
activity.
huh?
I got my lifeguard degree when I was like 14 years old, so I spent a lot of time on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings at swimming class and whatnot. So I grew up differently. My kids are been encouraged to do the same. I wouldn't say they're at the same level that I was when I was younger, right? Actively involved, but my son still plays a lot of sports and whatnot. But it's just the nature of the social media and the way people are brought up now. Like I would say our the Muslim community now or the Pakistani community now, they're still involved. Like based on the number of kids that I see who play MyRec or MYSL or any of the other kind of youth based leagues out there, they're full, right? They have lots of kids. that go through those leagues. And as you said, it's formally structured programs where parents have to drop them and take them and whatnot. Kids aren't making the time to do it on their own or just doing after school activities. I don't know whether there's an easy way to change that. That's just the mentality of the kids now. But I'm encouraged that the fact that they're still involved in many of these activities, um, that we're not losing that in the next generation of kids. Maybe the following generation of kids turn out differently, right? It's just the impact that the change in the way that they live their lives. I know, for instance, my kids, like, they have access to anything that they want, right? At home or when we're on the road or whatever, right? Like, we never grew up on that. Like, we were talking about this when I went on a recent trip. We'd have to print out a map of everywhere that we'd have to stop on our road trip or wherever we were going. Now, you want to stop off somewhere, well, you just do a quick Google search and then you have it on your fingertips. So I don't know whether there's an easy fix to that solution, but I'm encouraged that these kids are still involved in sporting activities. So we're not kind of losing that on this generation. And I'm just so hopeful that this kind of continues on, and um, our kids raise their kids with that same level of desire to
Yeah.
have them.
But inshallah, they do a better job than we're doing. In all honesty, I don't know if if we can change a little bit of the thought process and the mentality when it comes to physical activity and healthy living. There are things that we can do that should be relatively easy. We get, like I'm sure you get from your company as well, some group benefits at a gym, right? They sign a contract with the gym saying our employees will get some sort of a better rates. Our Islamic organizations should theoretically be able to do that. They should be able to uh, organize, women only days or men only days and have them go. Heck, I'm sure if someone decided to, start their own gym franchise, they'd make a lot of money. Um, solves two problems all at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great idea. Like, if
You know,
masjids reached out to these gyms and said, "Hey, listen, we want a group rate, and anybody from our masjid gets that group rate," that would probably solve some of that problem, right?
it'll have a big impact, right? Maybe not solve it, but it'll definitely have a big impact.
Well, yeah, for sure. Like, just I know I would take advantage of that if I had a group rate discount, right? I don't know why our communities don't do that more, right? Like, you could do that technically with anything, right? We could get a group insurance rate, right? Being
Hmm.
part of the Muslim community at, like, for instance, ICCM, which is my local masjid, right? Why don't we take advantage of that as a community group, right? You're part of this organization. You're part of.
Yeah, you know what it is, and it's something that I end up talking about quite a lot. Is sometimes we have this weird reactive attitude towards problem solving. Is we struggle with trying to find and look for new or creative solutions to a problem. There's other communities, there's other groups that have solved these problems or have put in good work towards solving these problems. A lot of those strategies we can take and just apply over here. Sometimes they're other faith-based communities, sometimes they're employers and big companies, big organizations that we should be able to get those ideas from, and rather than reinventing the wheel, try to just make it easy on ourselves. As great as basketball courts in masajid are, there's a very small group of people that are going to end up going there and enjoying that and taking advantage of it. Uh, we have to think volume, you know? What's next for BSL? Any new sports coming up? Any interesting initiatives?
It's usually based on interest and feedback that we get, right? Like, this year we started pickleball, and it's still kind of in its pilot phase.
Hmm.
Fairly new to pickleball as well. I only played last summer.
Yeah,
It was my first time.
never played. Never.
So
Tell me
uh,
this.
it's a
What is
mix between badminton and tennis. If you can kind of imagine how those two would be married together, but
right?
that's basically what it is. And so I've grown to have an active interest in it. I'm playing a lot recently, and that's kind of what we started off. A bunch of brothers said, "Yeah, we'd love to play pickleball," and we're like, "Okay, let's see what we can do." So I don't know. A lot of people have reached out to me, say they want to play flag football and whatnot. I'm not doing anything that increases the chance of anybody in their mid 30s, late 40s getting hurt or whatnot, right? We generally want to steer away from high impact, high physical sports. Our soccer league is growing and is getting younger every single year. So that's kind of encouraging. We're kind of getting a new. Most of our BSL softball league is people that are in kind of their late 30s, early 40s, but our soccer league is a lot younger, and we're kind of getting a new group of our brothers come through there. Pickleball is just in its pilot phase. We started Brotherhood Golf a couple years ago,
Yeah.
run by two brothers in our league, Faisal Khan and Umair Jabbar. So I don't know what's next. We'll have to see how the community grows. But now you've kind of planted a seed in my head, right? Being able to um, kind of take advantage of getting uh, the group together to take it to get benefit out of other things, right? Maybe we start a membership where you can get access to benefits to different things if you're part
Right.
of the BSL group, right? So I don't know. You just give me a great idea of something that I have to look into now.
Inshallah. Well, I'm glad something good comes out of this.
Inshallah.
Awesome. Dude, this was just, I had a wonderful time talking to you. Before I let you go, any uh, general comments, any advice, any thing you'd like to say about BSL, about the community at large? Um, Tell us what's going on.
No, the only thing I would suggest is anybody that's kind of listening to this that has an idea that you think would be beneficial to either the community or maybe even yourself, right? Um, don't be afraid to give it a try. Go out there. That's how we started off BSL. I had no formal experience. I had never run a company before or a business. It was just an idea that started. We wanted to do something. Yeah, that evolved into different aspects of being able to take advantage of the community that we were building and the impact we could have on the community. Um, so just give it a shot, right? If you know that there is uh, interest out there, you know that it's something that you could probably give back to the community. Go out and give it a try. Don't be afraid. Get the right support structure you need from our community, and inshallah, it will be beneficial. If you do it for the right intention, then inshallah, Allah will reward you as well. Even if it doesn't get to the point that you feel it's successful, but the fact that you gave it a try and you did something for the sake of our community and for the sake of Allah, then inshallah you'll get rewarded for it regardless.
Wonderful. Jazakallah khair, man. That was amazing.
All right. Thank you for the time, Khurram.
Thanks
I've
so much.
enjoyed being.
It was great talking to you. And you
Okay.
know what?
Thank you.
Actually, may Allah give you a lot of success. I think you guys are doing some amazing work, and keep it up.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.